Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today I'll be doing episode 11, Charmander the Stray Pokemon. This episode begins with the group getting lost in the forest on their way to Vermilion, so they check their map and eventually find out that they're on the right track. Brock decides to prank Misty, but gets his dues in return, and Misty decides to go take a walk. During her walk, Misty stumbles upon a shadow which reveals itself to be a Charmander, and eventually Brock and Ash catch up to her, and Ash decides that he wants to catch the Charmander, with Brock noting how weak Charmander's flame had become, meaning it was probably injured. This leads Ash to want to catch it even more so he can take it to a Pokemon Center, but he tries twice, and both times Charmander rejects him. Pikachu goes up to talk to the Charmander to see what's wrong with it, and it reveals that it's waiting for its trainer to come back to it. So, our gang determines that it's best that they just leave it be and have it wait for its trainer. They eventually come across a Pokemon Center and decide to go inside and relax with some good old soup. Brock can't relax though, as it has begun raining, so he starts stressing out about the Charmander even more, wondering if it was still waiting for its trainer. It unfortunately must have been, as Charmander's trainer, Damien, was currently still in the Pokemon Center, completely neglecting it, as he had abandoned it due to it being too weak, bragging about how his multitudes of other Pokemon were way better. In summary, this guy and all his fucking friends are just rude pricks for leaving a Pokemon out there. Brock, Ash, and Misty take notice of Damien's remarks, and Brock gets angry and demands that Damien should go back for it, warning that it would die in the rain otherwise. Damien denies though, being the prick that he is, leading Ash to challenge him to a battle, which Damien gladly accepts, but then Nurse Joy intervenes, not wanting Pokemon to be fighting each other in the place where they're supposed to be healed, you know? Brock then gets distracted by Nurse Joy's beauty, still amazed at the fact that she looks like all the other Nurse Joys. Thankfully though, Brock remembers Charmander and gets back on track, saying that he was going to save Charmander himself if Damien wasn't going to do it. Ash and Misty agree to come with him. The group trudge into the rain in their raincoats to go rescue it, but find it being attacked by some goddamn fucking Spearows, reminiscent of the first episode. So Ash attempts to scare them away by throwing a rock at them, but that doesn't work, so he gets Pikachu to use a Thundershock instead, which thankfully does work, and Brock and Ash are able to wrap up the Charmander using their raincoats and rush it back to the Pokemon Center, where Nurse Joy takes it in. Nurse Joy gets triggered at Ash and the gang, assuming they were the ones who let Charmander get in as bad a shape as it did, but Ash clarifies that it was the prick Damien that was behind that, having not only left the Charmander on the rock, but lying about coming back for it as well. The gang stay up all night, worried sick about the Charmander, pleading and pleading that Nurse Joy could actually save it, and thankfully, she comes out of the operating room and reveals that in fact she did heal him and he would be up and at it by morning, much to the gang's relief. The next morning, however, Ash practically falls off the couch as Brock yells, revealing that Charmander has gone missing. Ash figures that Charmander, being as loyal as it was, must have went back to the rock even after the abuse that it suffered, leading Brock to become determined to go after it and get it back. Misty points out that there was nothing they could do though, as Charmander would just keep going back to the rock no matter how many times they brought it back. All three of them, saddened by this truth, they decided to move on with their journey, leaving the Pokemon Center. Meanwhile, Team Rocket is up to their usual hijinks of coming up with a plan to capture Pikachu. This time, they have just finished digging a hole using a drill machine that they somehow have. Yet again, another machine that we just don't get explained the origin of. With the hole being complete, Team Rocket then go into the bushes and wait for Ash and the gang to come. And when they do, Pikachu is the first in line, But he's too light to activate the trap, much to Team Rocket's annoyance, to the point where they start arguing with each other, only stopping when Meowth gets annoyed at them for their bickering, scratching them. Team Rocket is so caught up by their own arguing, though, that they almost miss when Ash and his friends actually do fall in their trap, being much heavier than Pikachu. They happily take the opportunity to advance with their plan, wearing rubber-proof suits that block out Pikachu's electricity. Going even further, they have their machine launch out a rubber ball, which further nullifies the electricity, and captures Pikachu inside. So really, maybe Team Rocket will actually win this time, right? I mean, Ash and his friends were really trapped, even when Ash tried to use Misty and Brock as a boost to get out. They had no plot armor this time, and Jesse and James were laughing up a storm at them. But then, Charmander comes in. There is a Deus Machina after all. Using Meowth as a translator, Team Rocket hears Charmander's message to let Ash and his friends go, wanting to repay the favor for how they saved him. Team Rocket, of course, denies, leaving Charmander to hit them with his signature flamethrower move and send them running off, and leaving Pikachu behind in the process. By this point, Ash and the gang have managed to get out of the hole, presumably using the boost methods actually successfully this time, and when they get out, Ash is so thankful for Charmander's help that he recruits him to his team. Charmander's about to accept, but then Damien shows up, that fucking asshole. Damien, now impressed by how much stronger Charmander has become, says that he always intended to come back for it, that fucking liar. And to add insult to injury, he basically just says that it was all part of his master plan to leave Charmander outside so that it could toughen itself up and become, like, battle-hardened in the rain. Ash gets into an argument with Damien, obviously against his so-called method of training, even when Damien says the benefit of him not actually having to do any training himself, essentially just leaving it all up to Charmander. Charmander thankfully sees through Damien's foil, so when Damien attempts to return Charmander back to its Pokeball, Charmander deflects it back ferociously with its tail, much to Damien's anger, who then tries to attack Charmander with all of his other Pokeballs. Before Damien can let out his army of other Mons, though, Charmander hits him with a flamethrower, and Pikachu joins in, hitting him with a Thunder Shock, absolutely decimating the fuck as he runs away. With Damien gone, Brock insists that Ash should be the one to capture Charmander, even though Brock did grow attached to it, and Charmander gladly accepts at this point, jumping into Ash's Pokeball.